Well, she's out, and that certainly was fast. The House of Representatives gets hit with its third resignation in just 1 week. Congresswoman Sheila Sherfulis McCormick is the latest to resign. She was accused, or is accused, of stealing millions from FEMA. You have to hear her reasoning for stepping down today, and you will hear it in moments. Meanwhile, President Trump is about to speak at the White House. In any moment, Trump will be hosting a college sports event. He will be speaking to the NCAA champions, but we know Trump. And we know Trump will often take time during these events to address pressing matters. Is the ceasefire with Iran soon to be on or off? Is Trump still sending a team of negotiators to talk things out or not? We're watching very closely, and we're going to take you to the president as soon as he begins. And the truce with Iran is set to expire tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern or 3:30 a.m. Iran time. Yesterday, Trump said if the ceasefire expired on that date of tomorrow night, lots of bombs will go off. And today, Iran slapped back, saying it will not negotiate under the shadow of threat. Iran also claims it has, quote, new cards on the battlefield. And as we await Trump's remarks at the White House, there's been some new action at the White House. White House correspondent Mike Carter joins me. Mike?
Yeah, Greta, good to be with you. The vice president's press pool has been at Joint Base Andrews all day long, awaiting the vice president to head to Pakistan. We did see the vice president here at the White House, coming here just before 1 o'clock this afternoon. He was then joined a few hours later, just before 3 o'clock, by Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. What does that signal? Well, things have not been progressing with negotiations with Iran, and now there is significant doubt that these peace talks in Islamabad will even happen at all ahead of the president's deadline tomorrow night, a deadline that President Trump says he does not want to extend. Meanwhile, Reuters is citing a senior Iranian official saying that Iran has essentially rejected these talks altogether now. This morning, President Trump telling CNBC Iran had agreed to attend these talks in Islamabad, but the key sticking point here seems to be the U.S. blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, today, the War Department reporting that it boarded a vessel. U.S. forces boarded a vessel sanctioned for transporting Iranian oil overnight in the Indian Ocean. And of course, that comes after Iran vowed to retaliate after an Iranian cargo ship was fired on and seized by the U.S. Navy on Sunday near the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's foreign minister today saying blockading Iranian ports is an act of war and thus a violation of the ceasefire. Striking a commercial vessel and taking its crew hostage is an even greater violation. Iran knows how to neutralize restrictions, how to defend its interests, and how to resist bullying. Meanwhile, the president today saying Iran has violated the ceasefire numerous times. Well, as of now, President Trump is giving Iran until tomorrow night, Washington time, to come to an agreement on the future of its nuclear program. If it doesn't, President Trump says the United States is going to knock out every single power plant and every single bridge in Iran.
Well, I expect to be bombing because I think that's a better attitude to go in with. But you know, we're ready to go. I mean, the military is raring to go. We don't have that much time because by the time both parties get there, as you know, they just got the okay to go forward, which I knew they were going to do anyway. The one thing I'll say is this: Iran can get themselves on a very good footing if they make a deal. They can make themselves into a strong nation again, a wonderful nation again.
Well, Greta, despite the president saying that this ceasefire ends for the U.S. tomorrow night, Washington time, Pakistan's Minister of Information is saying technically this 2-week ceasefire ends tonight at 7:50 p.m. East Coast time here in Washington, D.C., along the eastern seaboard, or about 4:50 a.m. Pakistan time. So we're getting conflicting reports over when this ceasefire ultimately comes to an end. As you mentioned, President Trump slated to speak here at the White House to more than 100 collegiate national champions here moments from now.
Mike, thank you. And now to some news out of Mexico. We have 2 dead CIA officers, and the president of Mexico is mad at us. Here are the facts. 2 CIA officers were in Mexico for an operation against drug cartels. According to the Associated Press and Washington Post, both publications citing anonymous sources. And you know how I feel about anonymous sources. I don't like them. But according to the Washington Post and the AP, the CIA officers were busting a drug lab in the Mexican state of Chihuahua. The 2 officers were killed in a car crash after destroying a drug lab. Mexican authorities say 2 of their investigators were also killed in the crash. Why does this all matter besides the death, which is a horrible tragedy? Well, it could cause problems with Mexico. Mexico does not want U.S. boots on the ground, and yesterday Mexico's president said her country will look into whether national security laws were violated.
No teníamos conocimiento de que hubiera un trabajo directo entre el Estado de Chihuahua y personal de la Embajada de los Estados Unidos en México. Entonces estamos pidiendo toda la información al gobierno de Chihuahua y también al gobierno de los Estados Unidos.
President Sheinbaum also said she is going to ask U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, Ronald Johnson, to meet with her foreign minister. Retired U.S. Army General, former CENTCOM commander, and former CIA Director General David Petraeus joins me. Good afternoon, sir. And I don't know if anybody has more experience in these matters than you, so let me ask you just a straight-up question. If you were President of the United States, what would you do at this moment?
Well, the president's in a bit of a test of wills, obviously, with the leaders in Iran. We know that there's a little bit of difference between some of the different leaders in Iran. The foreign minister, for example, last weekend said that the Strait of Hormuz is open for traffic. He was then countermanded by the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps leader who said, no, it is not, it's closed. So we know that there is some internal tension in Iran. We know that they're very good at brinksmanship. And I think that we're going to have to show that we are good at brinksmanship as well. Obviously, both sides do want to bring this conflict to a close through a negotiated resolution. You have to avoid being too eager for that. And I think, again, that's something we have to be cautious about. But it may be that there has to be a return to hostilities. But of course, again, neither side really wants that. On the Iranian side, obviously, they've been pummeled very substantially. Their missiles, their drones, their navy's all sunk. The Air Force, what they had left is gone. The damage to infrastructure and even the facilities that manufacture components of missiles and put them together. So they don't want more of that, needless to say. But there's a vulnerability on the other side of the Gulf as well. When I was in Doha, Qatar several weeks ago, I learned that 17% of the LNG capacity has been knocked out for the next 3 to 5 years. So there's the concern that, again, there could be some drones or missiles or what have you that get through the air and ballistic missile defenses and could cause damage there, which would have a further effect on the global economy. But there are 2 really critical sticking points. Obviously, one is that we cannot allow Iran to control the Strait of Hormuz as if it's their own Panama Canal. It has to be returned to the status quo ante, which was as an international body of water through which all ships are allowed to transit freely. And then we have to come to some agreement on the nuclear program, the enrichment policy, and what to do with the 1,000 pounds of uranium that's enriched to 60%, which is 1 turn of the process below 100 or below weapons grade, if you will. Sorry.
Here's what I don't understand, though, is that I don't know one country, even their pals of Russia and China, want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Nobody wants it. Everyone realizes that'll change the whole dynamics and put so much at risk. I don't know anybody who wants that, thinks it's okay if they do. On the other hand, the United States has says, look, if you want to have enriched uranium for medical reasons or for power, we'll give it to you free. And that offer was rejected. I mean, what else can be offered to them if nobody wants them to have this nuclear weapon, and we'll give them the enriched uranium up to 60% or whatever for what they actually need?
Well, the fact is they want to have a nuclear device, and that was confirmed when the Israelis stole the entire research library, essentially, from a warehouse in downtown Tehran, and then exposed to the world that they had been lying about their objectives and all the rest of that. And the fact that they have enriched so far beyond that which is needed for medical isotopes or even for nuclear energy generation or what have you, to 60%, which is 1 turn of the enrichment process below weapons grade, indicates they would like to have a nuclear device. And they may even want it more now because they might see that as a deterrent to further conflict with the U.S., the Israelis, and others. So there is still a desire on their part, I think, very clearly, to get a nuclear device. And what we have to make sure is, of course, that the 60% enriched uranium is excavated, because it's believed to be deeply underground under the rubble and destruction of Esfahan nuclear facility, and perhaps also in one other location deeply buried. And to have the International Atomic Energy Agency most likely be the body that supervises this removal and transporting out of the country or diluting or whatever else is done with it. But the question is, can they be allowed to enrich ever again? That's going to be a topic for negotiations, I'm sure. And by the way, on the other hand, Iran wants us to release the hold on the assets that they have frozen around the world. Now, we should recognize, Greta, they are not as desperate as some people make them out to be. They have $35 billion in reserves, reportedly, that they can use for a period of time. And they have over 180 million barrels of oil floating around in various locations in the Asia Pacific. So they can survive for a period longer, although obviously the fact that we are not allowing ships to go into their ports or come out of their ports through the strait is a huge limiting factor on an economy that is 80 to 90% revolves around the maritime traffic that they have.
Well, we're certainly watching the clock. I don't know if it's the Pakistani, the man who's in charge of information says there's deadlines tonight. President Trump and Iran says tomorrow, and neither country says they're going to send anyone to negotiate in Islamabad. So I guess we just watch the clock and see if anyone does cry uncle. Anyway, General David Petraeus, always nice to talk to you, sir.
Good to be with you, Greta. Thank you.
Coming up, we now know where the nominee for Federal Reserve Chair was not on Thursday, May 14th, 1998. I'll explain when we come back, when the record continues.
A Social Security update. Millions collect Social Security, but 70% of Americans don't get their full benefits. Now, a new report shows how to boost your Social Security by as much as $188,000. Author Matthew Allen reveals 5 key strategies in a new report. Newsmax calls it the best guide for retirees. Everyone needs this free Social Security report. Act today to get your full benefits.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that. No needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Sensitive mouth and gums? Ever heard of Closest mouthwash? Your dentist and hygienist have. They know Closest is ultra gentle for sensitive mouths with non-burning mouthwashes that freshen breath, improve gum health, and strengthen teeth. Closest, the gentle mouthwash for sensitive mouths.
We have breaking news, and get ready for this one. President Trump just posted on Truth Social, quote, based on the fact that the government of Iran is seriously fractured, not unexpectedly so, and upon the request of the Field Marshal and the Prime Minister of Pakistan, we have been asked to hold our attack on the country of Iran until such time as their leaders and representatives can come up with a unified proposal. I have therefore directed our military to continue the blockade and in all other respects remain ready and able, and will therefore extend the ceasefire until such time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded one way or the other, end quote. Former White House Chief of Staff in the first Trump administration and former Congressman from North Carolina, Mark Meadows, joins me. Well, within What do you say? I mean,
I'm shocked. Listen, no one wants an extended war with Iran or anybody else, but also this is not a fine wine that improves with time. And so to see this kind of breaking news, I think it's welcome news in that maybe there is a potential for a deal, but it also shows the difficulty of getting a deal because you've got so many different factions in Iran. And who do you deal with? Who's the one that's going to be calling the shots? Is it the Republican Guard? Is it the people that have been in negotiations with Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner? It is a troubling time.
Here's what I don't understand, and sometimes I get stuck on things, but is that Iran says that it wants enriched uranium to 60%, and they say they already have it, so they're not going to wheel and deal that away. That 60% is, one twist away from a bomb. But it's also what they need for power, probably more so more enriched than they need for power and for medical. We have offered them the best deal in the world. We're going to give it to you free if you give it up free, unless they don't believe that we really are, true to the deal. But you can have it free. The American taxpayers will pay for it, and yet they say no. So why is it that suddenly someone's going to think that they're going to get some sense of the reason?
Well, they're not, because I think the troubling aspect of this, Greta, is that they don't want it for peaceful purposes. What they want it for is power. They want it for power in the Middle East, in that region. But they also want to use it so that they can actually negotiate from a position of strength. And that's why the president was right to go ahead and take out their facilities. But
what do they want?
What they actually want is they want to be able to control the Middle East. And, people see the Middle East as one group. But you've got the Saudis and...
who don't like Iran. Saudis don't like Iranians.
The Saudis in Iran are in two different families. And
the Sunnis and the Shiites.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But they want to be able to be the alpha in that Middle East. And the only way for them to do that is to have nuclear bomb capability and then be willing to use it.
But the problem is they have funded the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Hamas, which we struck a deal with last October, Israel and Hamas, and there are 20 points, and they can't even get to point 2, which is that Hamas disarms. So, so this is all sort of fiction to think that, okay, well, we'll let Iran have their nuclear weapon, they can keep their pride, they can everything, but as soon as, time is always on their side.
Well, the time is on their side, and one of the things that you'll recall, and that many of us that have been dealing in the Middle East peace process for decades, is that they were going to stop some of their enrichment a long time ago, decades ago, at a much lower number. They reneged on that. They never got the deal. And here's what I think we're going to see is we're going to continue to see, that carrot continued to be put out in front of the horse, and yet the horse never gets to eat. And that horse being, there will never be a deal that it gets to the satisfaction of Iran and the United States. And we just need to recognize that.
I think people thought after 1979 that when the Ayatollah Khomeini died, I think he died about 89, that would be the end of the revolution. But then Khamenei came in, and of course he's been eliminated by the United States. But there has not been any appetite for change. It seems the Iranian people want change, but they go out in the streets to try to get change, and they get slaughtered.
Well, it's an oppressive regime that basically will kill those who speak out. And yet, as the president has said, the Persian people or the Iranian people largely are in many of our communities are great citizens that had to flee the country because of the way that their government is running things. Now, here's the disappointing part about this continuing to go on. The oil prices will probably continue to escalate, although the initial news may be very positive and send oil going back down. But when you have the Pakistanis realizing that there is not an entity that you can actually negotiate with. That's a difficult, it just means that their government is in chaos and everybody is looking for power and who's going to be the next prime minister or president of Iran. And it's like the Hunger Games, everybody taking everybody else out.
Pakistan has a nuclear weapon, so does India, and they both hate each other too. So it's a very dangerous area of the world. Mark Meadows, as always, thank you.
Great to be with you.
Coming up, more on Trump extending the ceasefire with Iran, what this means for our U.S. forces. That when the record continues.
Newsmax.
Shoots it straight. No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax. Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think. They let me decide.
Real news for real people.
I love what I do, which is help people make the switch to consumer cellular. Like our customers, Courtney and Jackie.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Consumer Cellular gives you access to a fast, reliable, nationwide network for up to half the cost of big wireless.
My previous provider was terrible.
Why are we paying this much for our cell phone bill? It's crazy, right?
Dropped calls or missed calls. To me, that was just normal.
We wouldn't get to talk to a person. Now with Consumer Cellular, no problems.
Our reception is so much better with Consumer Cellular. It's been amazing.
I just made a road trip across half the country, and I did not have one dropped call.
Better customer service. They tell me exactly what I'm paying and why I'm paying for it.
And here's my favorite part. You can save up to half on your bill.
It's within $1 of being half of my old bill.
With Verizon, I was paying about $150 a month. With Consumer Cellular, I'm paying about half that.
As AARP members, we get 2 lines for $55 a month.
I'm getting the exact same coverage for half the price. That's a beautiful thing.
Done deal.
We'll set you up with the best plan for you and help you wrap things up with your old provider. It all takes about 20 minutes.
Switching over took about 20 minutes. That's it.
Consumer Cellular customer service reps are A1, top notch.
They are so nice. You get a human being to talk to.
It's month to month, very simple. You're not locked in.
I got to keep my phone. I got to keep my number.
If you're thinking about switching providers, do it.
If I can do it, you can.
That's why I love Consumer Cellular. They've made it easy.
We'd love for you to enjoy our reliable nationwide coverage and the best customer service in the business. Give us a call now and start saving up to half on what you're paying now. It only takes about 20 minutes. Call 800-378-8904 to switch and save up to half with Consumer Cellular. Plus, for a limited time, new customers get their second month free when they sign up today.
For pain in multiple spots like here, here, or here, Salon-Pas patches stick firmly and remove comfortably once your pain is gone. Salon-Pas. It's good medicine.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
Over the weekend, a viral photo showed an IDF soldier in southern Lebanon smashing a statue of Jesus. The IDF and top Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, said they were disgusted by this destruction. So fast forward to now, and Israel has fixed the statue, and today the IDF said it replaced the damaged statue. The IDF added that it has deep regret for the smashing of the statue and are working to make sure it does not happen again. As for the soldier who damaged the statue, today the Prime Minister's office said the soldier had been removed from combat duty and will serve 30 days of military detention. The soldier who photographed the act has also been dismissed and sentenced to jail. Now, on this news show, we report a lot about wars. We've been there, we book policy and military experts, and we show you the video of war. Video helps you get a closer idea of the costs of war. And for more than 4 years, Russia and Ukraine have been in a bloody battle. With all of us living so far from Ukraine, it is sort of easy to forget the pain and dangers of the war. Yesterday, I was sent this video you're about to see of what it's like for Ukrainians still under attack and trying to survive. Let me warn you, the end of the video is tough to watch, but don't worry, the people in the video survived. They are fine.
Пизда.
Ага.
Туда. Вначале. Давай в дом куда-то. Я не знаю.
The person who videoed this was doing shelter repair to help others. 1,500 days ago, Russia began its invasion of Ukraine. In January of this year, the Center for Strategic and International Studies reported the number of casualties. They said more than 1 million Russian troops have been killed, wounded, or missing. These huge numbers have not been seen since World War II. The report says Ukraine's casualty numbers, killed, wounded, or missing, are more than 500,000. The war continues with no signs of ending, so the numbers will rise. We continue now to follow the breaking news as we await President Trump to deliver remarks. He just posted on Truth Social that he is extending the ceasefire with Iran. Former Deputy Commander of Central Command and retired Navy SEAL Vice Admiral Robert Harwood joins me. Nice to talk to you again, sir. And explain to me this: how does Iran control the Strait of Hormuz? It's only about 21 miles near its narrowest point, over 100 miles long. But what is it that makes us unable to control it?
Well, it's more of a threat than actual control at this point. Look, they've said they have mines. We've yet to see one. We know they have missiles, and we know they have jets for drones and missiles. So commercial shipping is unable to ensure the financial viability of that risk. So they're able to shut it down by a much threat, not uncertain of exactly what capabilities they have. So we can patrol that, we can help escort it, but again, they're not comfortable taking that risk. So we could do everything we want to do, but it becomes the shipping industry, the insurers, all that part of the equation that have to have confidence in that we can protect them. And there are no mines in the water. And all these things with Iran, there's no guarantee. So that's how they're controlling the threats. And that's why that's a non-negotiable event for this administration. They have to guarantee the free flow of commerce through the straits, or we will continue to blockade them and starve them financially as they're experiencing right now.
Okay, if there are mines there, and Iran says they are, we have something. I mean, if they threw in the towel today, we'd still have to find some way, would we not, to make sure that strait, especially that narrow point, is safe? I mean, using minesweepers, or how do we clean up that area so that it is secure from mines?
Well, first off, if you have the guarantee from the Iranians that they're not going to put any more out there, then you can clean up the mines. And one of the most conclusive ways is run some ships through there, ones that are not valuable, that can do a hit. We've done that before. But again, go back. No one as yet, as I know it, and I don't have the same intel, no one's reported seeing a mine. We have not seen a mine hit a ship. So again, at this point, it's inconclusive if they really have that capability left after as much as we struck them. So that's one first and foremost. And then number two, if they guarantee it, you can run ships through and kind of ensure it's safe to other shipping. And in line with our other efforts, our mine countermeasures to go through and clear everything we know or can find.
All right. Okay. First of all, I don't want to have the job of being the one to do the test ride through, but that's just me. But this one, okay. So if we have the test going through and we discover that there are no mines, don't we have the capability of preventing Iran from placing more mines there? How are they going to put mines there if we have enough of a presence there?
Well, you first make sure there's a kill zone. Any boat that's operating in that area without our approval becomes a target. So any ship that could be used either clandestinely or directly to place a mine, such as dhow fishing boats, know they become a target because they're a possible threat. So that's first and foremost. Number two is you can then put small boys, tipper, as we call them, up there to watch for any ship or anything and placing them. So there's a bunch of measures we can use to ensure they are not seeded after they've agreed, and we all recognize there are no mines in this area.
So, but it sounds to me like we don't even need their agreement to do that. We just had to make sure there are no mines, and we just had to prevent them from putting more mines in to instill the confidence in commercial shippers. So if that's correct, what's stopping us?
Well, that guarantee, again, at the end of the day, always a political solution. So they agree and we hold them accountable for that. I think that would be.
But suppose they don't agree. But if they don't agree, I don't understand. If they don't agree, and we can clean up the mines and we can prevent them by being vigilant and that they don't put more mines in, why do we even need their agreement on that?
Well, we can do it, but there's risk on that. Are they going to send drones? Are they going to send missiles? Are there drones down there? Different type of mines that were sunk mines that could be activated. So you got to deal with all those risks. But yeah, we could do it by force. But there's a significantly greater risk at doing that. If you have the political agreement to do that, that sets the stage for taking on some of that risk and acknowledgement of the end state for all of us, the free flow of oil through the straits. So you could go either way at it, Greta. There's just considerable more risk of doing it by force, and that becomes not as enduring as the political settlement.
Assuming that they didn't lie and you could trust them. That's the other thing, that you weigh that because they not exactly have, a good record for telling the truth. Vice Admiral Robert Harward, always nice to see you. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Greg. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Coming up, one person is out of a job as another one interviews. That one, the record continues.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
When we started Allegiance, we were shocked to learn how many American flags are actually made overseas.
If there's one thing that deserves to be made here in America, it should start with the American flag.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
Join our pledge to make the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
Welcome. Please take several minutes to listen to this message. Now listen carefully to our many options. Please say what your problem is about.
Operator.
Do you want to talk to an operator?
Yes!
All our operators are busy at the moment.
At Seabird Financial, things are different. When you call us, you talk to a real person. No bots, no endless menus. All calls are answered in under a minute. Talk to a human today. Call Seabird Financial.
Homeowners ask me all the time, do gutter guards really work?
Leaf Filter certainly does. In our testing, Leaf Filter handled double the rain of common hood-style guards.
It's Homes approved.
Call 877-77-HOMES or visit leaffilter.com/homes.
If your dog struggles with stiff joints, low energy, messy poops, or an itchy coat, the cause might be sitting in your dog's food bowl right now. Kibble. That's why we created Badlands Ranch Superfood Complete, gently air-dried, packed with real canine superfoods to help your dog unlock puppy-like energy, smoother digestion, healthier joints, shinier coats, and more. Thousands have already made the switch. Visit your local pet food retailer today.
Nobody knows Corvettes like McMulkin Chevrolet, the world's largest Corvette dealer for 5 consecutive years. Set apart by its name alone, Corvette delivers a legacy of American craftsmanship, and a vehicle that sets the bar for performance cars deserves a buying experience that beats it. With hundreds of Corvettes in stock and ready for immediate delivery nationwide, it's no wonder Corvette enthusiasts from across the USA keep coming back to McMulkin Chevrolet.
Where's my mother gonna... Oh, no. Is this the episode with the breakup?
Reba, we can't agree on the house.
Y'all need Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you could find the one today. This could be it. Better put a key ring on it. Realtor.com.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free spring roof tune-up with your Roofmax restoration.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric that helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Well, I didn't see this coming, at least not this fast. She just up and quit. Congresswoman Sheila Sherfulis McCormick, a Democrat from Florida, resigned just a short time ago today. She quit 30 minutes ahead of her hearing before the House Ethics Committee. She is accused of stealing $5 million in COVID relief funds. In a statement, the now former Congresswoman from Florida said in part, quote, "This was not a fair process. The Ethics Committee refused my new attorney's reasonable request for time to prepare my defense. By going forward with this process while a criminal indictment is pending, the committee prevented me from defending myself. I will not stand by and pretend that this has been anything other than a witch hunt. I simply cannot stand by and allow my due process rights to be trampled on and my good name to be tarnished," end quote. Her resignation, effective immediately. And guess who never watched Seinfeld?
Mr. Warsh, the only thing I've found the least bit odd about you is you've never watched an episode of Seinfeld.
That was Senator Tom Tillis on Federal Reserve Chair nominee Kevin Warsh, who has said, maybe admitted, that he has never watched Seinfeld. 76.3 million people watched Seinfeld in 1998 at the grand finale. Warsh obviously was not one of them. Okay, on to more serious business now. Today on Capitol Hill, Warsh, President Trump's Federal Reserve Chair nominee, faced a series of questions by senators at his confirmation hearing. As expected, Warsh received hostile questions from Democrats and friendly ones from the Republicans. One of the not-so-nice comments came from Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren. She called Warsh President Trump's sock puppet. Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy asked Warsh if he was going to be President Trump's sock puppet. Here's what Warsh said.
Are you going to be the president's human sock puppet?
Senator, absolutely not.
Are you going to be anybody's human sock puppet?
No, I'm honored the president nominated me for the position, and I'll be an independent actor if confirmed as chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Warsh was also asked if he had already agreed to lower interest rates, as President Trump has asked numerous times from the sitting chair, Jerome Powell. Here's his response.
The president never asked me to predetermine, commit, fix, decide on any interest rate decision in any of our discussions, nor would I ever agree to do so.
Now, other moments of friction include the discussion of Warsh's assets.
You have $100 million in undisclosed assets. And what I'm asking is, are any of those with this outfit that invests in companies affiliated with President Trump or his family, companies that have facilitated money laundering, Chinese-controlled companies, or financing vehicles set up by Jeffrey Epstein? It's a yes or no question.
Senator, I have worked tirelessly with the ethics officials at the Office of Government Ethics.
And you have not
come to an ethics agreement with them and have agreed,
assets.
Senator, to sell all of my financial assets,
Mr.
including
Warsh,
the Duquesne
are you refusing to tell us if you have investments, for example, in vehicles set up to advance Jeffrey Epstein? Is that what you're telling us? You just won't tell us?
Senator, what I'm telling you is that those assets that you represent at Juggernaut will be sold if I'm confirmed before I take office and sign the oath of office.
Let me follow up.
Warsh has struck an agreement with the Office of Government Ethics to sell more than $100 million in assets in order to resolve potential conflicts of interest. It is clear that members on the Senate Banking Committee have not yet seen the actual agreement. Republican Senator Tom Tillis said he will block Warsh's nomination because he wants DOJ to drop the investigation of current Fed Chair Jerome Powell about the renovations of the Federal Reserve's building.
There were a variety of reasons why this building went over budget. And as a matter of fact, if we put everybody in prison in federal government that had a budget go over, we'd have to reserve an area roughly the size of Texas for a penal colony because of the way government projects work.
Warsh has maintained that monetary policy is independent. Meanwhile, yesterday, Labor Secretary Lori Chavez Derry-Murr resigned from her job. She's the third cabinet member to leave President Trump's administration. As an aside, all who have left have been women. Chavez Derry-Murr's decision to step down came amid allegations of abuse of power, which includes an affair with a subordinate and the use of alcohol while on the job. Chavez Derry-Murr wrote on X, quote, "We live in the best country in the world, and I'm incredibly grateful that I had this opportunity to meet workers across the nation, listen to their stories, and deliver wins for them and their families. Thank you, President Trump," end quote. Chavez Derry-Murr will now move to the private sector. And it's been nearly 8 weeks since the start of the war in Iran, and gas prices have continued to go up. According to AAA, today's national average price for a gallon of regular gas is $4.02. What were gas prices before the war? $2.98 per gallon. Do the math. It is now $1.04 per gallon more. So when will we see gas prices go down? Well, this is what Secretary of Energy Chris Wright said.
I don't know. That could happen later this year. That might not happen till next year. But prices have likely peaked, and they'll start going down. Certainly with a resolution of this conflict, you'll see prices go down. Prices across the board on energy prices will go down.
But it might not be under $3 a gallon until 2027.
Under $3 a gallon is pretty tremendous in an inflation-adjusted terms. We had that in the Trump administration, but we hadn't seen that in inflation-adjusted terms for quite a long time. We'll get back there for sure.
Apparently, the secretary disagrees with his boss, President Trump. President Trump says something different. In a phone interview, the president responded to his energy secretary. Trump said, quote, "I think he is wrong on that, totally wrong," end quote. Trump says that gas prices will drop as soon as the war ends. Meanwhile, earlier today, Secretary Wright testified before the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee.
You said that gas prices may not fall below $3 a gallon until 2027. Do you stand by that today?
I don't know the future of energy prices. Often I will speculate or look at those things. I would say gasoline prices looks like they peaked about a week or so ago, $1 a gallon cheaper than they peaked during the Biden administration. Yet we're in the midst of ending a 47-year conflict in the Middle East, a major energy producing region.
Rising prices of oil, rising prices of energy, is that something that you did not contemplate happening before the president declared his illegal war?
No, we knew exactly what would happen.
It doesn't seem like it, because the president doesn't know how to end this war, how to reopen the straits.
I think the war and the president's... Are you telling me you have a handle on this? Repeat the question, please, Senator.
Are you telling me that you are involved in opening the Strait of Hormuz so that the energy prices, which are directly impacted by the closure of the strait, is going to ease? Are you directly involved in making that happen?
Look, I'm the primary energy advisor to the president and have been discussing the Iran situation, potential solutions to the Iran situation since the day I was sworn in.
Meanwhile, as we mentioned, the breaking news during this hour, Trump has just announced he's extended a ceasefire with Iran. We are awaiting remarks from the president. He will be speaking from the White House, and we're going to have live coverage. Coming up, what is happening tonight will most likely determine the balance of power in Congress. This is a big deal. There will be a big winner and a big loser tonight. That when the record continues.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something,
What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist-recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
What do you think?
Even though they're growing up, they still need your guidance.
You like it?
Yeah, I like it. That's why last year, Instagram launched teen accounts, defaulting all teens into automatic protections for who can contact them and the content they can see. And we'll continue adding new safeguards.
2.
Instagram teen accounts with automatic protections.
What if your GLP-1 for weight loss was as easy to take as a mint? Small, discreet, and easy. Think about that, no needles. This is compounded tirzepatide, a mint-flavored tablet designed to fit into your daily routine. You simply let it dissolve under your tongue. No mixing, filling, or storing your own syringes. Tirzepatide helps curb appetite and supports healthier eating by reducing cravings, including for sweets and carbs. And when your appetite feels under control, it can make it easier to eat less and move intentionally towards your weight loss goals. If weight loss has been on your mind, this may be the needle-free option you've been looking for. A simple daily tablet, as easy to take as a mint. Getting started is fast and surprisingly accessible. Just complete a quick online physician consultation. Here's how.
Save $50 with promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at noneedles.com/slim.
Need blood pressure support? Total Beets contain a patented key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. That's why Total Beets is the #1 best-selling beets brand in America. Take control of your health with Total Beets. Search Amazon now for Total Beets.
In just over 2 hours, polls will close in Virginia, and this is no usual election day in Virginia. Even though you don't live there, you should really care immensely about the results tonight. Although it's not the November midterm, the result tonight in Virginia will impact in a very big way the balance of power. The election is about redistricting and, or another way to say it, a new congressional map. Virginia has 11 congressional districts. Right now, with the current map, Democrats hold 1 more congressional seat than Republicans at 6-5. But tonight, if voters approve the new maps, Democrats could pick up 4 more seats. So instead of a 6-5 Democrat margin, it could end up a 10-1 Democrat margin. That's because the maps were drawn in a way to favor the Democrats or gerrymandered. They were drawn by the Democratic-controlled General Assembly. With House Republicans holding a slight edge of a few seats, these 4 Virginia seats could give the Democrats control come November midterms. This is something that is gaining the attention of current and past presidents. Today, President Trump said, quote, "Virginia, vote no to save your country," end quote. Former President Barack Obama said this.
By voting yes, you can push back against the Republicans trying to give themselves an unfair advantage in the midterms. By voting yes, you can take a temporary step to level the playing field.
Former Special Assistant to President Biden and former Press Secretary to First Lady Joe Biden, Michael LaRosa, joins me. It's a big election tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I vote there, so I'm particularly interested.
I don't vote there, so I'm here in this district. But I mean, this one state would go one way or the other.
It could. I mean, I think if it's a actual wave year, then I don't think it will matter as much. But if it's not a wave year and it's a closer midterm election, then it could alter the or impact the balance of power in Congress, for sure, absolutely.
Well, the president, historically, who's ever in the White House, his party, or her party maybe someday, his party loses in the midterms. And I did a little research. My favorite thing to do is, it's been since 2002 under President George Bush, a Republican, that the Republicans gained 8 seats. It's been that long since they gained seats, because they usually lose.
That's right. And in 2022, during President Biden's midterm years, there was a lot of the rhetoric that we're hearing now. It was going to be a red wave. We had record high inflation, gas prices, supply chain. Everything was bad in the country. And yet, we managed, as Democrats, to expand our majority in the Senate. And the red wave in the House turned out to be a red little puddle, and the Republicans barely took the majority. And so that was a historic overperformance for us. But I think that there's risk in that again. And I think Democrats need to be cautious with their optimism, because the country is a lot more divided. Back then, there were 18 Republicans in Biden seats. There's 3 today.
Well, I looked at the time that it was Bush in 2002, Clinton in 1998. During his impeachment, he still gained 5 House seats. And then 1934 was FDR, got 9 House seats again. But this is the one that caught my attention. 1894, the Democrats lost 125 seats.
Reconstruction?
I don't know. It's the biggest midterm landslide in U.S. history. It was during a severe economic depression, according to my research. But anyway.
Midterms have, in my experience, they tend to come down to events. Events can trigger them. And like I said just now, in 2022, it wasn't so much the economic conditions. It was sort of the reaction to Roe v. or to Hobbs, the Dobbs decision. In 2022, it was a reaction to the security state and 9/11. And in 2006, it was a reaction to, a lot. It was the Iraq War that was very unpopular. You had rampant Republican corruption, the Jack Abramoff scandal. You had the House Page scandal. There was a lot going on that people felt it was time to make a dramatic change.
What's the influence of the media, I think, in this?
Well, it's a great question. Because the media is so fragmented, we tend to get our media and consume it through silos. People enjoy the affirmation of knowing that their side is doing well or pushing back. Nobody likes to hear people like to drink the Kool-Aid. That's right. So if you're one persuasion, you watch one network, another persuasion, you watch another. I don't think that's very good for democracy.
I don't either. I disagree. I don't like that either. But anyway, big night tonight in Virginia. Michael LaRosa.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Coming up, will Trump rule out the horse and carriage? That when the record continues.
Big media will never stop their antics, their bias, their ugly insinuations, their nasty attacks. Well, they may never stop, but I will never stop exposing them.
Before Apoquel Chewable for allergic itch, giving dogs pills was a battle of wits.
Oh, Maria, I'm wise to your foolish game.
Is it gone?
Totally gone.
Relief for itchy dogs can be easier. Apoquel, the trusted #1 treatment for allergic itch, is available in a tasty chewable that works fast.
May cause worsening of existing parasitic skin infestations, serious infections, or pre-existing cancers. New neoplasias have been observed. Do not use in dogs under 12 months of age with serious infections or in breeding, pregnant, or lactating dogs.
Ask your vet for Apoquel Chewable.
Do it!
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America, by Americans, with American materials.
We're proud to create jobs right here in South Carolina. It might not be the easiest way, but it's the right way.
We make American flags the way they should be made, where they should be made.
Join our pledge to keep the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
What's gold is new again. Pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BC, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with Preserve Gold, how do they get started?
Text Newsmax to 50505 to get your free information and up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. That's right. Text Newsmax to 50505.
All right. No way you can miss it.
I've been using Experian Boost to help raise my credit scores, but Experian Boost is even better because now my monthly insurance payments could help boost my scores too. It does it instantly and it's free. So get it through the Experian app.
You helped our nation celebrate its bicentennial in 1976. She gave me a look that only a mother could give a child.
A wink to the Queen. That was a flashback to 2007. Queen Elizabeth was visiting the White House. As you heard, then President George W. Bush tried to have some fun. Now, during her reign, Queen Elizabeth made 4 official state visits to the United States. So fast forward to today. And now President Trump is preparing for a royal visit. On Monday, King Charles and Queen Camilla will make their first official state visit to the United States as King and Queen. And today, the royal family is also celebrating a different milestone. It's the Queen's birthday, Queen Elizabeth's birthday. And today, she would have turned 100 years old. Her mother, by the way, lived to age 101. In 1952, Queen Elizabeth took the throne. She was only 25 years old. She became Britain's longest reigning monarch. She served for 70 years as Queen before her death in 2022. And so today, King Charles gave this tribute to his mother.
Her near century was one of remarkable change, and yet, through each passing decade, through every transformation, she remained constant, steadfast, and wholly devoted to the people she served. God bless you, darling Mama. You remain forever in our hearts and prayers.
President Trump twice met the Queen in the UK during his first term. Now he will welcome the royals to the American people's home, the White House. Thanks for watching, and make sure you pay attention to polls tonight in Virginia. It's a big race. Ed Henry and The Big Take is up next. Stay with News.